Hey guys, it's Danny27 here, and welcome to Never Used This Before, which is a new series that I'm going to be starting on the channel, which is where I go down my battle log list and use some of the guns that I've never used before in Battlefield 3. So, it's a new series, as I said. This is going to be, obviously, episode 1, and it's going to be more of a pilot episode, so see if you guys like it, see if the series is going to go down well, and hopefully it will, and there will be more to come in the future. So, for this first episode, I was using the QBZ-95B, which is a carbine for the engineer class. You unlock this by first of all completing the assignment that came with Back to Karkin expansion pack, fixing it to get the G53, which is 10 repairs and killing one enemy with a repair torch. And then once you've done that, you can unlock the It Goes Boom assignment, which unlocks you the QBZ-95B, which is 50 anti-tank rocket kills, destroy one enemy vehicle with the repair torch, and win 5 rounds of conquest. So overall, there's nothing too difficult about the assignments. Maybe the destroying the vehicle with the torch and killing the person with the torch are the hardest, but even so, they're not particularly difficult. They're not the hardest ones I've seen. And 50 anti-tank rocket kills, it's going to be a long process. You might have to grind it out for a couple of games, but it shouldn't be too hard at all. So I was just looking down my battle log list for this start of this series, and I saw this gun, and I am quite partial to the engineer class. I played it almost exclusively through Bad Company 2. It was the first class that I maxed out, got all the guns for. That was the first, and then I moved on to other classes. But the first gun I stuck with when I first came onto Battlefield 3, it was the first class that I used when I got onto here. I've only just recently started using the assault class because I've realised probably need to vary it up a little bit. There is some good guns, but I did originally start out only using the engineer class, and I generally stuck with the M4A1, generally as it was the best gun for the engineer class in my opinion. And judging by the stats, there's a video on that back in my channel. I'll probably chuck in the description if you really want to go and see that. So I stuck with the M4A1, so I'm assuming that when I unlocked this gun, I didn't do anything. I looked back down my list and I think I'd spent 25 seconds with it, I think it said. So obviously there was something about the gun I didn't like, so I wanted to go back, see what that was, and see why I didn't actually use it. And I'm surprised I didn't. I don't think the gun is terrible, in all honesty. I think that it has its downfalls, but then so does every gun. I do think that a lot of guns can outgun it, and I don't think that it will be my go-to gun for the engineer class. I'm still going to keep with either the M4A1 or the ACR, but I do think that it's still a decent gun, and it's still a good candidate for the engineer class. However, I wouldn't say go for it if you're trying to go for a try-hard engineer class, or you're playing competitively, or you just want to go for a good round. Probably not the best gun to go for, but if you want a bit of a challenge, if you just want to have fun and try out a new gun, I would definitely suggest going for this. So the QBZ-95B is a standard carbine for the engineer class. It follows the same damage model as a majority of them, excluding the Scar L. So it has a 25 max damage at 8 meters, which drops off to 14.3 at 50 meters. So not the best, not the worst. I mean, it obviously follows the exact same patterns as the rest of the carbines. However, it does only have a 650 RPM, so it does fire a bit on the slow side, which is a bit of a shame. It does have the 30 rounds in the chamber, or 30 rounds in the magazine, and 31 with one in the chamber, and has a pretty decent recoil value of 0.335 to the right, 0.335 to the left, and 0.2 to up and down. So with having the same recoil to the left and right, you might think that the gun will only have up and down recoil, but that isn't actually the case. So what happens is the gun doesn't just perfectly stay in the middle. The two side recoils don't actually counter it out. What it does is it makes it very hard to predict which way the gun is actually going to jerk. If a gun's got higher left recoil, you know the gun will normally swerve off to the left hand side, whereas if it's both got the same, there's an equal chance that it'll both go to the left or the right, making handling the gun a little bit more challenging, giving you a slight difficulty when actually trying to keep your target in sight. Having said that, the iron sights are not my personal favourite. I've had people saying they're great iron sights, they're nothing wrong with them, they're quite broad, they give you quite a lot of the enemy to view, as opposed to some of the terrible iron sights like the FAMAS, but that's another story for another time. I personally didn't like them, so as soon as you get a scope, I would say use it. I personally would go for probably the reflex sight or the red dot sight, seeing as they don't actually zoom in at all, giving you a good field of view. They're not too bulky, and so they don't take up most of your screen. and you don't really need to be zoomed in that much when using these kind of guns. So on the other hand, in terms of attachments, obviously I say go for a sight, unless you're very happy with the iron sight, which I doubt you will be, but I mean, if you really want to try them, go for it. But most guns do work better with a sight, and they don't take any up any extra space for any other attachments, so obviously might as well use one. So I would go for one of the sights, as I said, the reflex or the red dot sight, seeing as they don't zoom in. I would always put a heavy barrel on carbine, seeing as it increases the damage at range, knocking the maximum fall off from 50 meters to 75 meters, which is actually quite a dramatic effect, which allows you to get those long range kills a hell of a lot easier. Also, you may be wondering whether to put the foregrip on the QBC or not, and in fact the QBC actually has a built-in foregrip, so there is obviously no need for the foregrip to be put on this weapon. And as of March 2012, and seeing as this is being recorded in August, this is definitely true, the foregrip actually does affect the handling of the weapon, so there is no need to add the foregrip. I don't even think it's available. So there would be my ideal attachment. I wouldn't recommend, or you could run the laser sight. I would say it probably does agree the upgrade the hip fire, but it's not a necessity. It does give away your position. I only use it in close quarter combat. I'm not a massive fan of giving away where I am. The suppressor is also a viable option, however it does decrease the overall damage of the weapon, which does dramatically increase the time to kill. So if you really want to stay off the radar, you may be paying the price in not being able to kill people particularly quickly. I do think that the QBZ may be ever so slightly underpowered. I think DICE could probably make it a more viable option for the engineer class by maybe bumping up the rounds per minute, maybe bumping up to 700 or 750, maybe even giving it a new damage model, something closer to the SCAR, seeing it does have a similar RPM, but maybe not quite as powerful, obviously, because it does have the more bullets. I think that would be a good way to increase the decency, make the gun more viable for the engineer class. So that would be something that I would suggest they do, but obviously it's quite late in the game. It's a vanilla gun. They're probably, if it was going to be done, they probably would have done it by now. And that pretty much concludes episode 1 of Never Used That Before. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, a way to improve the series, just put it in the comment section below. If you want any guns that you want me to use that I haven't actually used for very long, I'll put my battle log link in the description so you can go and see. Maybe leave some of those in the comments. And hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.